Hello, everyone. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, wherever you're listening to me from. So, today we are going to be going over more privacy focused content and more on a topic I want to talk about, which has to do with an operating system today here on the Leon the Great channel. And this time we're going over on GrapheneOS. Now, it hasn't been like the biggest thing in the spotlight, which there's been a couple of people in the open source community have talked about it, but I definitely want to give more attention to GrapheneOS as I've been going over just other things, just been other topics. And lately, I figured let me go ahead and pick up on this one here, which in today's world, and as we've been seeing about with the whole age verification and governments getting into our privacy, this I find this is a big deal, and it's a fight for privacy. And most importantly, we all do. In many respects, we do have to start fighting back because otherwise, those rights will be taken away, especially how much not just governments but corporations as well, even going against your privacy. And even recently, as I am recording this video, which I'll be covering up on Instagram after this recording, and I figured it'll be about time to go over Instagram. And it looks like for me, it looks like I am this close to leaving Instagram because I don't trust the model. What's been happening lately, and it looks like, look, at this point, I don't care how much or how safe that you think you'll be, but there's just so many issues that we're seeing with a lot of these big tech. I mean, running the show and running the scenes, especially with Metas and on all the Meta products that we've been seeing. They're going to be ending end-to-end encryption in all aspects, really. So you take a look of everything. It's a really much of a big reality check that we have to say, is this even right to give our privacy away for a bit of convenience? And this is where I think we need to start talking about this. And the more we bring this up, the better, really. Because also, there's so many companies that are doing shitty things behind our backs. We have no idea. But this time, today, we want to go over on GrapheneOS in this article here on beitmenotYou.online, which is one of my friend's blog, which he has written down very well written, actually, and about what is GrapheneOS, what is it. And I'm going to get into it more right now. Now, here in the article, it portrays about GrapheneOS age verification and the fight for privacy phones. And so, going over on this article, your phone is more than just a device. It stores much of your private life, habits, and routines. Every day, it tracks where you go, keeps a record of your calls and messages, and remembers every website you visit, every search you make, and every app you use, even late at night when you can't sleep. While this data makes life easier and keeps you connected, it can also turn your phone into a powerful surveillance tool that quietly tracks you behind a friendly screen, which is actually correct because this whole thing is not surprising. And as much as us as privacy guys goes, we do need to step up our game, especially with everything. And if you're using an iPhone or right now, I don't know what to tell you. You Apple uh, Apple guys are pretty much lost. If you think that Apple is there for your privacy, I think you guys are lost. You Apple folks. But anyways, my opinion. And so here it says, continue on with the article. This is why GrapheneOS matters so much in today's digital world. Recently, GrapheneOS makes it easier that it will never ask users for personal information or government ID, and will never require an account to use the operating system. This commitment comes as more governments consider or introduce age verification laws, which could force operating systems, app stores, and internet platforms to collect and store even more user data, putting privacy at risk. And that is pretty much correct. I actually do agree with this part on the article, and I will agree 100%, or even 110% in that matter, because it's what governments do. Most governments really do not care about people, especially even if you are a long-time voter. They don't give a crap. Even though I have been an avid voter sometime in the past, but I don't think your vote is worth shit. But if you guys think it is, I don't know. But anyways, continue on. We want to go over on the article, specifying GrapheneOS. So for those of you guys are our longtime listeners, you're probably asking, okay, let's get to the point. What is GrapheneOS? So GrapheneOS is a mobile operating system built for privacy and security. Based on the Android open source project AOSP. AOSP is the official public version of Android maintained by Google and freely available for anyone to use or modify. GrapheneOS starts with this open foundation. Unlike standard Android versions from phone makers, GrapheneOS is developed by an independent nonprofit team focused on giving users maximum privacy and security. Its source code is fully open, so anyone can see or check how it works. This builds trust and transparency. Open source projects like this let the public identify security problems and hidden risks, making it much harder for unwanted surveillance or flaws to go unnoticed. So pretty much that is the gist of GrapheneOS. So that's just giving you the basis for all you listeners out there. And then continues on with the article. GrapheneOS is based on the idea that users shouldn't have to trust device makers, big tech companies, or third-party apps with their data. To support this, GrapheneOS adds advanced security and privacy features beyond those of standard Android. These include stronger app sandboxing, better protections against attacks, improved memory management, and tighter controls over what apps can access. Features such as network and sensor permission switches, security profiles for each app, and separate storage help reduce the risk of data leaks. In practice, GrapheneOS looks and works a lot like regular Android, but it focuses more on privacy. You can still use most Android apps, but the system gives them much less access by default. For example, apps can't reach your personal files, location, microphone, or camera unless you allow it, and you control exactly how and when those permissions are used. This approach matters because most people don't lose privacy all at once. Instead, privacy fades slowly as apps collect more permissions, track users in the background, sync data automatically, and pushes you to create more accounts and online identities. Over time, these small steps can add up to a big loss of control. GrapheneOS wants to control this pattern. Instead of asking how much data can we collect from users, as most commercial platforms do, it asks how little data is actually needed for the device and apps to work. This way of thinking puts users in control, keeps their digital footprint small, and pushes back against growing surveillance, which is absolutely correct because this is something that we really need to think for ourselves and say that, listen, this is something that I do think that consumers have to say enough with this data collection too. And even though while I do pick on Apple and I've kind of made a smart comment on Apple early on, I would say that, look, they are egregious. Even though they talk about protecting privacy, that's pretty much bullshit on Apple's case right there, because they're really not for privacy at all. And it's not 100% true what Apple says. Do not believe in the false advertisements coming from big tech corporations like this. They do not give a shit about your privacy. It's 100% not true. And I just think that you should even look into alternatives and also these alternatives, especially like privacy focused phones, should be a priority. And whether you think that, oh, this is not a big deal, blah, 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 they collect your data. They create profiles of people like you. And this is why I think that GrapheneOS deserves a little bit more light into what we really, really need. Even in today's surveillance world and how much people don't really understand, this is going to be much of a risk and burden to those out there that are thinking, okay, we really need to change how we use phones. And to me, the way I see it is, first of all, I agree that many of the phones that we've used in the past, look, I get it. The convenience is there. You talk to your families, you talk to your friends, or whomever you talk to. All of that is nice, but that convenience can come with a cost that you do not want. So then that's my personal observation as I see it too, and especially with social media is the biggest contributor to data collecting, and this is why I will expect myself to move on to decentralized platforms like such as Mastodon, which by the way I do have Mastodon, and I have Nostr. I've been using Nostr here and there, and I've been getting responses to users, which, very cool. I like it. I like the fact that I can have actual conversations, and not bots, not not having any issues with a platform such as the current Twitter X. So that's why you kind of have to think for yourself, this is not what we really need in the current state of what's been going on with the world, with the privacy data world that's been festering for several years now. And do we really need that in our lives? And I will say this, and I'll answer to all of you that's listening. No, I really don't think we need more surveillance. We need less surveillance in our lives and having data exploited. And this is also horrible because it's not just you. If you have children that does go online, as a parent, I do think parents should have a place in this and have to think twice what your kids see online. And look, I get it that not many children go out outside, and I know parents freely give devices like that because it's just a convenience part, which, all right. But then you have also children are going into places on websites, and plus the companies that are going to these children's phones, they don't know any better. And this is why I find that creates a lot of problems down the road, and that creates such a big digital footprint in their lives, which that's really disturbing in that way, because why would I want a big corporation like, say, Apple or Google, for that instance, to create a digital footprint that I never asked them to? And so that is one thing that we really need to take care of and explore the options right now before things are too late at this point. So now I want to go ahead and jump into a different topic. Part of it is in an article I've read. Now, Motorola and GrapheneOS. Now, as I've gone through a bit about GrapheneOS over on my friend's blog, now he did cite it on the fact that Graphene and Motorola, it's going to be a long partnership that I come to find out after reading tomshardware.com, which says here Motorola and GrapheneOS announced a long-term partnership at MWC on March 2nd to bring the hardened OS to future Motorola hardware, ending Graphene OS long-standing exclusivity to Google Pixel devices. A Graphene OS powered Motorola phone is expected in 2027 if Motorola sells devices with Graphene OS pre-installed. Those devices would need to comply with local regulations in every market where they ship, or Motorola may need to strict sales geographically. So where the Graphene OS, which I think this is cool coming from Motorola, and I haven't owned a Motorola in, I would say, a long time. I would say it has been a very, very long time, though I don't know the last time I've held one in my hand, because I remember using LG, Samsung, and HTC during the first Android phone back many moons ago. And so, and then also LG was another one that I've used and I loved. And I always thought the Motorola always came out with great Android hardware, and the phones from there, it's always been overlooked by many critics. I know a lot of people have talked about Samsung Galaxy, for instance, and then Pixel, Google's Pixel, which, come on, I don't think it's all that bad. But I have my bets that this is going to work out well in this market. Now, if done right, hopefully they market this really, really well for a lot of people to buy into GrapheneOS. And also, this will be a split of the duopoly so far. Because the selling point with Graphene, hopefully by 2027, by next year, it will be about the search of privacy. Which I hope this will be the case, because first of all, I love how ironic and hilarious that Apple talks about we care about privacy, but in reality they don't. And then you have Google. I would say that Google, in their instance, I think it's pretty atrocious where Google's at, where they want to make Google a locked ecosystem. So in a way that you as a user really don't have a choice for that matter. And so now you have Motorola and GrapheneOS joined together. First of all, I'm all in. And this is a great news right there. And so continuing on with Tom's hardware, continuing on, GrapheneOS isn't the first and won't be the last company to outright refuse compliance with incoming age verification laws. The developers of open source calculator firmware DB48X issued a legal notice recently, stating that their software does not cannot and will not implement age verification, while Midnight BSD updated its license to ban users in Brazil. Wow. So they are taking quite of a hard stand on this. So I had no idea Midnight BSD have updated the license to ban users from Brazil. But in a way, it sucks that they have to do it, but they do not want to comply with Brazil's age verifications in the whole entire country in Brazil, which just sucks. And I feel bad for anyone having to comply with the laws, the crazy laws in Brazil, which terrible, I know. And then we have California. California's law doesn't require photo ID or biometric verification. Users simply self-report their age during setup. Critics, including over 400 computer scientists who signed an open letter, have argued that the laws create surveillance infrastructure without meaningfully protecting children, since self-declaration is trivial bypassed. This right here, it's telling right there where we are at, and I have talked about this in past episodes about the very much of the farce things I've been hearing with age verifications, and how much of this crap does not work at all. It's not really good. Where we're seeing a lot of this age verifications coming from government, and this is not good. I mean, first of all, it's funny how we end up priding ourselves the land of the free, and then here you got states, and not just states, but now we see this on the federal level now, pushing for hard age attestation or age verification, whatever you guys want to call it now, for these laws to pass in. And first of all, I even question that if these laws actually really work, or if these laws actually even do anything to protect children for those instances. I really don't see that at all. It's really much of a terrible telltale sign that we really got to step up and say, no, I don't think this is going to be a good idea. And who knows? And this is where we're seeing now with these politicians passing laws or creating laws that I don't think they shouldn't even be creating. And I know California has passed their state law on their own age verification or age attestation at this point. Still, I think California is one of those states that continues to do a 180 down south. And I continue to question California. Like, look, don't get me wrong. If you're someone in California listening to this podcast, no offense to you guys, but you have a crazy ass governor that's looking just to do anything to put all these crazy protectionist laws, thinking that they're doing righteous and all this other BS nonsense. Which, look, I don't live in California, but I've been paying attention what you guys have been doing over in the left coast right there, and it's absolutely nuts. And I do think these companies, especially GrapheneOS, even though GrapheneOS isn't owned by anyone, it is done by an independent entity right there. Let's just put it that way, independent entity. But this is an operating system that I'm looking down, and I'm looking down on it and say, you know what? I can't wait till 2027 until we can get a release full on Motorola. And this is really good because a lot more people are just saying that I do not want to use these arbitrary, stupid phones that continue to, data mine me for advertisements and crap like that I don't even need, And a lot of people have just seen the telltale signs of both Apple, I would say not just both companies, but Apple, Google, Microsoft, and whatever, right? And it's a very atrocious thing that they are. I would say Apple, like I've said, like Apple claims that they're for privacy, but in reality, they're really not for privacy at all. They're just a bunch of bullshitters in a mask, lying to your face. That's all it comes down to too, because we can't say this enough right there, where a company like that is looking to take a bit of your freedom, and then when that little bit of freedom is getting taken and eroded by you, then they can continue to push absurd protectionist laws claiming that they are for the children, which, let's be real, 100% of this has nothing to do with the children, and I'm glad that GrapheneOS and the pretty much the founders and the people behind GrapheneOS had stood up and say we're not going to follow these laws. And this is absolutely cool to see someone working in the free and open operating system just saying no to this nonsense, which is good. I applauded to that, and unfortunately, we haven't seen that like anywhere else in the other open source space. Come on, Canonical. Come on, Red Hat. Where are you guys? Say something about this. And unfortunately, probably they can't really speak up on it because they are, they are a big foundation, a big company that they can't really go out and say that because they are being funded one way or the other. Like Red Hat, if I'm not mistaken, I believe IBM is funding Red Hat, and Red Hat is the one behind Fedora. So I get why they may not want to say it because it is a company that they do have to continue to follow laws and especially rules within the Red Hat Foundation. And I personally understand because they are being backed by a bigger company. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe like I said, IBM is one company that's backing Red Hat, and then Red Hat, providing all the support for the Fedora project right there. So, and that's where it comes down to because they don't want to lose all that funding. So I'll just be clear. That's kind of the way it goes. But I will say that with Fedora, it is interesting because they do have a big community involved around Fedora, and Fedora so far lately has been doing really, really well. Now with GrapheneOS, look, I know there's tons of open end operating systems for phones that you can just side. What was it like? Side load it. Yeah, that's right. So side load the OS, and you could just do it on your Pixel or any phone that's able to support it. Like I know Graphene isn't the only one. Like Lineage is one that I've heard. I haven't read too much about Lineage, so that is something that you guys probably will consider. But Graphene has picked up a little bit of popularity too. Now, for those that are looking for privacy in that matter, and if you're one that is focused on protecting your private life, your digital sovereignty, this is one I will say it's a good way to look it up. GrapheneOS right there. So I am interested because I have a friend, Michael from Be It Me Not You has written about this through and through, and we've talked about this offline as well, which he said that he's very excited where a Motorola now is going to have GrapheneOS pre-installed, which I am very, very excited about this news. Now, that is all I wanted to go ahead and say on the channel, which to me, I am quite excited what's going to be ahead, especially for those that are heavily privacy focused. And I am quite excited, quite honestly, because we are to a point that a lot of people are just saying, no, you know what? I'll probably end up going back to a dumb flip phone, one of those phones in that case. But my thing about with flip phones, while it was nice to have it back in those days, you're going to be limited, right? And I understand some people may not trust like the big mainstream GPSs like Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze for those examples, because there's a lot of telemetry and a lot of data tracking right there on within these apps and these ecosystems, what you call it, from those big duopolies right there. I get it too. Now, if you are one that's looking for another alternative, and let's say for example, like GrapheneOS doesn't have a good mapping system. Now, a mapping system you can probably look up into is probably TomTom or Garmin, which I've used Garmin in the past. It's not bad. TomTom is one I have used a lot, and I did purchase it many years ago. It's not bad it really isn't a bad GPS. The only takeaway is for the mapping system. They do update the maps I believe it's like every 6 months or every year. So I don't know what it is with TomTom, but I do know that a lot of people do use it on road trips here around across North America, and I know TomToms can be used anywhere else. So if you are traveling, let's say on in Europe or Asia, whichever continent, you can still get a map for these certain countries and just do that right there too. So those are another option that you can just weigh in and say, okay, probably that's going to be good to go if there isn't a mapping system, which hopefully with the whichever store, let's say F-Droid or whichever open app store that provides a good mapping system, we'll see too, because the way we've been so used to with between Apple's and Google's ecosystem, it's going to be quite different because GrapheneOS is not meant for, I'm sure it's not going to be meant for everybody by the time it is released by next year. And I always think about how is this phone is going to work and how is this is going to be something anybody can use. Now, is it going to be something that every person is going to jump on board with it? I don't think so. Me personally, is a lot of people have been so used to convenience for so many years when the smartphones arrived around the 2000s, mid to late 2000s, that point where everybody's like, you know what, maybe I'm just better off with Google or I'm better off with Apple. And I know that not everybody's going to get on board with graphene because graphene, the way things are used is the use with graphene is very, very different. And like, especially if you're a person that has banking, or if you use banking on the go, or if you use certain applications that you've been so used to on Android or on iOS, then that could be another issue right there. Because I've had checked on other YouTubers and I've talked about this, and they said that it is quite different. Like, for instance, there was one lady, I think it was Click and Switch. I think that was her YouTube channel's name. But anyways, she tried to go to her Capital One application, and let's just say that she had to go jerry rig her way around it, and she had to cut off a certain privacy feature on Graphene in order to have access to Capital One. And so there's going to be its limitations, but we will see how things go later on too, because I am excited to give this a shot, coming from Motorola, because I don't think I've ever used a Motorola phone in a very, very long time, because I know Motorola's had a very good reputation when it comes to their phones over the years, while so many people have pretty much have overlooked past these phones and gone through phones from Google, Samsung, and other brands that I can't think of the top of my name. I think Kawaii or Hawaii. There we go. That brand, that Chinese brand right there, which has gone very, very popular since then. But who knows? We're going into some strange times ahead. So guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below if you're listening to me on YouTube or on Odyssey, which I'll be posting an audio form on Odyssey after this podcast release. So if you're on Odyssey, you can check me out there or follow me on Odyssey, as well as I plan to upload more over there in this platform. And also YouTube. As far as everyone knows, it is hard to be a good content creator in YouTube in the year of the Lord 2026, which is becoming a lot more difficult. And a lot of people have been so against with the constant Google advertisements in your face, which I understand it could be a nuisance, but what can you do at this point? It's hard to be a creator. Now, if you want to support me, you can go to my Ko-fi account if it is financially responsible of you. But anyways, guys, I am going to go. I hope you've enjoyed this episode 263 of the Leon LeGray podcast. You have a good day and the rest of the week so far. So enjoy the first week of May, or is it? Excuse me, take that back. The second week of May, as I am recording this on May 5th. Take care, so long, and can't wait for you to hear me on the next one. Bye.